In the stellar queendom of Rhea, the Sisters of the Host do all they can to protect the hearts and lives of its people. Rhea, spanning most of the known galaxy, is beset by forces within and without who would drag all into oblivion and despair. Aliens of uncertain intent traverse the queendom's borders, all while internal hatred and distrust would tear the people apart, as older, fouler things in the darkness wait to see their plans birth a terrible future. The hosts are the creations of the Dreaming Queen, mystically and genetically endowed super soldiers that give heart and body to protect the Queen and her people. Come and join us for their stories. Greetings, subjects, and welcome back to Rose&Crescent, powered by Fabula Ultima. Campaign, Blood and Sparkles. I'm Isaac, your Royal Herald, aka your GM, and let's let the players introduce themselves, starting with you, Evil Tendencies.
I'm JP, Evil Tendencies, 3 otters in a trench coat, whatever. I play Petra.
Hey, I'm Ira. I play Alyssa.
Hello, I'm Rin, and I play Chiyako of the Silent Luminaries.
So, we've done the full circle of each of you asking a question, stemming from my brain floofery of not having a question prepared that one time. So, circling back to me, has your recent adventure, having dealt with Torn Eccles and the person who turned out to be his son, Davorn Alexis, has that prompted your characters to reflect or reminisce on their own relationship with their parents? Starting with Petra.
I think Petra doesn't try and reflect on the past too much. The sort of the defining moment of her past is really not one she cares to think about much.
Yay, trauma.
Yeah. My trauma, right in my trauma. But as for what happened past that, I get the feeling she tries to kind of live in the world that she's lived in since this traumatic incident, and her past beyond that, the camaraderie that she used to share, her family, everything, it really is like a different life and a different person to her.
Interesting. We'll just have to wait and see what that past trauma is. And Ira, how about for Alyssa?
Alyssa's family is is at this point a very old memory. She does have a handful of fond memories here and there, but overall she's mostly moved on.
Did she have any siblings? You know, her father is or was a governor. What about those on her filial generational level?
She had many siblings. She personally, ultimately, one of the things that made her go towards the sisters was she found a lack of real interest in dealing with politics, which, you know, family of a governor, you're going to get involved in politics whether you want to or not. When one of her older siblings decided to join the sisters, she decided to follow along.
Now, being from Pragma, the most likely outcome is that your elder sister also joined the Daughters of Harmony?
That's a likely outcome, yeah.
Good to know. What about you, Chiyako? Do you think about your family or your parents at all?
Chiyako has parents? I mean,
statistically.
She probably did at some point, but that part's a little fuzzy for some reason. A lot of parts that she thinks about in the past are kind of fuzzy for some reason.
Is this a result of the nature of the Silent Luminaries, or is this more of a personal mental thing on Chiyako's part?
Well, probably little column A, little column B.
Fair enough.
You don't like it when I don't give you straight answers, huh, Harold?
I'm just looking for the cracks to wiggle stuff into.
And Chiyako is nothing if not correct. Last time on Rose&Crescent.
Our heroine has answered the call of Magara, a planet seemingly under attack by alien serpents called the Basu. While indeed the Basu were attacking, they were under control of a young man seeking vengeance for the death of his mother at the hands of the deputy of the planet's nomarch, his father. With this escalated family drama concluded, the sisters continued on their way to the Tartarus Gate. You handed over Torn Eccles to the Daughters of Harmony for interrogation and judgment. And from there, you began the trip to the Tartarus Gate, there hoping to get a lead on the current location of the Silent Luminaries. Burrito pilots you into the dreaming and you begin your long journey. The Tartarus Gate is the very edge of the galaxy in this region of space, and thus it's on the other side of the reach from where you're at. So it's going to be a long trip. So first, let's see if anything happens on this journey, shall we? Travel roll. And a 6, which means you hit a danger, which will make this a brief conflict. As you're going through the dreaming, the blue and green and silver speckle dimension shimmers around you as you go forward. You end up getting caught in a nightmare storm, which is a turbulent patch of the dreaming that intercepts your course. This is going to require a piloting check from Arito. However, having me roll that would be kind of boring. Which one of you would like to roll the piloting check in Arito's stead?
What are the dice being used?
Let's go with a D8 Insight and a D10 Dexterity.
I'll do it. That is a 17.
So, tell me, how well does Rito do and how does she do it?
I would say that she is highly focused and maintains not only the input from those assisting around her, but when little or big bumps come along the way, is able to react very reflexively.
Rito is fierce when it comes to the pilot's chair, so this syncs up rather well. So you got through the storm undamaged. However, navigating through and maneuvering along its eddies has added some time onto your trip. What would have been around a month is now going to take 6 weeks, unfortunately. But that does leave with plenty of downtime to pursue your interests or have interests pursue you.
More time together.
Petra, what do you do to keep from going stir crazy in this 6-week voyage?
Keep from? She's slowly going mad. She is trying to keep up with her weapon drills, with her
Training of the mutants?
And with generally trying to poke and needle Alyssa into giving interesting reactions. But it is obvious after about week 1 that she is starting to get not bored, just very restless from inactivity. And that only gets worse. Antsy, yeah, that's another good word for it. You know, that'd be bad enough for a 4-week trip, add another 2 weeks on, and she's starting to kind of go by the end of it.
In anime terminology, there's like constant little bulging vein things on her forehead and the occasional sweat drop frustrations.
Yeah. So, like, you know, some of the things that she'll do to kind of relieve that are pretend to be a little clueless when Alyssa asks something, kind of playing into the dumb jock stereotype a little bit, just because she knows that kind of annoys her, or, you know, leaning on her trainees a lot.
Alyssa, how about yourself? How do you try to spend the 6 weeks? You're probably better at this sort of thing than Petra is.
All beyond systemic itemization of the entire ship's equipment, supply, and tracking of all details, combined with various random audits of different departments to make sure everything is as it should be, Alyssa often retreats to her cabin and works on her latest ship model.
What kind of model ship is it this time around?
A steam-powered sail ship.
Very retro.
The rare ship that existed during the transition from pre-industrial to industrial technology.
And Chiyako, who are you tormenting to help pass the time?
Oh, you know me so well. Well, she will continue assisting Petra with the training and playing her little games of hide and seek with our civilians. She's also going to start resorting to playing around with the crew, including Petra and Alyssa. So every now and then, when Petra's walking down the hall, Chiyako's going to be above her and attack and chase, and it's going to be a good time. Alyssa, on the other hand, Chiyako's managed to get into her room, and she wants to play around with Alyssa's toys, and is going to try to start picking fights that way too. Now, that's not all Chiyako does. She's not solely a troublemaker. But when she's not being a adorable pest, she's doing her own little personal projects. She actually likes to do scrapbooking. She likes to collect pictures of people and places that she has seen or been to and scribbles dates, times, and little blurbs about who the person is or what they were doing, what was going on.
Well, that'll definitely be useful in the future, they said evilly.
I thought you'd like that.
Alright, so, Chiyako, you're 1 to 2, Petra, you're 3 and 4, and Alyssa, you are 5 and 6. Now let me see what comes up. A 5, so, Alyssa, you can't stay in your room the whole time. You still need to, regularly maintain yourself with some food. And as you're going down the halls of the ship, you hear a slight rumbling sound above you. Then the sound of some kind of hatch coming open. And something is falling at you. What do you do?
So something from the ceiling is falling?
Yes.
Well, assuming she cannot confirm what it is in time, her priority will be to get out from under it as quickly as possible.
As it falls, you move to the side. You hear a ah! And then a smack. And then, face first, on the deck, next to you, is Yarick. He's there. He kind of starts curling in that way that, when you get like that severe pain, you just kind of want to curl up on yourself. And he's desperately trying not to cry.
Yarick, what are you doing?
He looks up at you, and he says, just exploring the ship. And while you do hear that, you are somewhat slightly distracted in that he is covered in face paint. Blue face paint.
Well, ignoring the fact that your exploration ship involves more gravity than it normally does, I can't help but notice you appear to be covered in face paint.
Oh, yeah, he says, standing up, dusting himself off. Mom is, doing this training, and, she's, like, really strong and fast now. So I'm trying to, train myself and be strong and fast, and I think that's why I fell, because I was too busy trying to be fast, and I didn't really pay attention to where I was, crawling. He looks up at you.
Well, first of all, there are very important safety reasons that crawling through the vents is indeed forbidden. Alyssa raises her eyebrows as she says that.
He looks up and then back at you.
I'm afraid to say, if you want to gain a physique that is, at the very least, competitive with your current mother's, you're going to have to go down a training routine that is more precise and focused than simply going wild across the ship. Also, why the face paint?
Well, Mom's blue.
I fear color is not the reason she has gained such athletic performance.
What you're saying is that once I become strong and fast, I'll become blue.
No, that is not what I said at all.
Okay, so what's this regimen I need to do? He looks at you expectantly.
Let us find you a dedicated trainer that can organize such a routine for you. Alyssa's going to head to the ship, Doctor.
So you're taking Yarick to Denu? Okay.
Yep.
On your way to Denu, you come across Petra as she's going over some training regimens in her data codex.
Yarick,
Hi.
what was your time this time?
I had to stop because I fell out of the vent, but I was doing really well.
The child fell out of the vent and hit the ship floor.
It hurt, but I didn't cry.
That is not the issue.
But you're going faster for them?
Yes.
Good. Speed is really important.
Safety is more important.
The ability to be decisive and bold in one's action is what defines a sister, isn't it?
Multiple years of training in gene therapy is what defines a sister.
I think that sounds like maybe a fundamental, maybe disagreement. Look, kids are springy. Their bones are actually meant to absorb impact. They haven't, fully grown into a more delicate adult body.
I would not use the phrase meant.
He's just watching both of you discuss this, almost like this is an entertainment vid.
kids, and she gets a bit more serious. Kids gotta figure stuff out like this.
Yes.
Especially in his situation, don't you think?
I do agree that this military vessel is not perhaps the best environment for a child to develop themselves upon, which is why I'm taking this child to the med bay so that perhaps I could get some more expert advice on approved activities to spend his days on.
Will Daniel give me this gene therapy?
No.
Petra kneels down next to Yarrick and says, I don't agree with Alyssa on most things, but I think she is right on this. You're going to need to probably find out exactly what your physique can handle. Just remember, whatever Danu tells you, you need to be decisive about it. If it's worth doing fast, okay?
Right. So, at that point, Yarrick reaches up far for him, considering the height difference between the two of you, takes your hand, Alyssa, and says, let's go.
Mm-hmm. Alyssa shall take his hand, lead him to the med bay.
And when Alyssa's not looking and Yarrick possibly takes a look back, she'll just smile and give him a big thumbs up, like, good job.
He smiles at you. Since he doesn't want to, let Alyssa know, he kind of gives you a wink in response to your thumbs up. So you take Yarrick to Danu. She's just like, what a fierce mutant I see. He just kind of gives her that whole really look that only a kid can do. At which point, Alyssa, I assume you kind of fill her in on everything that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So she's just like, well...
It's activities.
So she leans down, picks Yarrick up, says, all right, we're going to have a talk. At which point she tucks him under her arm, says, all right, I got this. I'm sure you have something in triplicate that needs to be filled out. She says to you with a smile.
I was on my way to get lunch, so I will be off to complete that task. Good luck, Danu. The child is a handful.
Not the first kid I've had to deal with. She waves goodbye to you as you leave, and, it's a little bit of blue face paint on her hand as she does.
Alyssa will roll her eyes and head off to the mess hall.
And that incident with Yarrick is something of a highlight of the trip. Other than that, it's all fairly routine. At the end of the 6 weeks, you arrive. You exit out of the dreaming, and you see multiple things at once. The Tartarus Gate is along the galaxy's edge. You look beyond it, and where normal people would see a black void filled with nothing, you, however, can see the faint light of distant stars. While not the most breathtaking in beauty, it is no less monumental in its gravity. What's more, you also see the morning vigilance ship, the Rose&Crescent, where a lot of the ships that you have been on have been smaller frigates, very streamlined, capable of going in and out of atmosphere. The Sanson is like what would happen if you took a larger version of that and combined it with a temple. And this ship is in turn surrounded by an assortment of support vessels. This is the Rose&Crescent of the Morning Vigilance. Queendom ship, identify yourself, says a voice over the communications.
And we're all on the bridge?
Yes.
Petra looks over at Chiyako. We're looking for your people.
Chiyako's going to step forward with an obviously warm smile on her face. She's going to greet them. Hello. I spread warmest greetings to those on the Rose&Crescent. This is Chiyako of the Silent Luminaries above the Alona's heart. How do you do?
There's a pause, and then the voice comes on again saying, you're back.
Do you recognize that voice?
Maybe? You have been here at least once before. The Silent Luminaries regularly check in with the Morning Vigilance in the Kypernian Reach. So you have been aboard this ship before, but over comms, you're not entirely sure.
Apologies for the misunderstanding. I am not currently with my sisters, but I am seeking them. So to hear that they have not checked in a while, well, I would like to certainly know more. May we approach?
Go to docking bay 832, port side.
Thank you kindly.
At which point Aelfred says to Arito, take us in. The Baal Sansin is a capital ship, so it is in fact large enough for Alona's heart to dock inside of it. So shortly thereafter, the Alona's heart is taken in and docks. Do you exit the ship?
Chiyako would know the protocols, correct?
Correct. Although knowing Chiyako, she would probably sidestep them if she could.
Well, she doesn't want to embarrass Alyssa, so she will obey protocol this time.
So you're walking down the boarding ramp with Petra and Alyssa then?
Indeed I am.
As we do so, Petra, just always wary in this situation, is going to try and get a read on the greeting words of this representative.
So here's a question. Has Petra worked with or encountered the Morning Vigilance previously?
I'm thinking she's pretty old. I'm thinking she's probably worked with all the hosts at one point or another. I'll leave it up to GM's decision, or Harold's decision, as to how often that might have been.
So, the Morning Vigilance are guardians and goalers par excellence. It is said that if a Sister of the Morning Vigilance guards a bridge, none shall pass. On the other hand, the Stalwart Grove are masters at endurance and attrition warfare. So the two hosts have a long history of practicing with each other, as well as the occasional bit of friendly competition. There's a common folktale, for want of a better term, of a Stalwart Grove and a Morning Vigilance getting into a staring contest that lasted for 3 days straight. Some versions of the story say the Stalwart Grove won, some say the Morning Vigilance. Some others say that in the middle of their staring contest, a monster attacked and a winner could not be decided. All that being said, you probably have good impressions of the Morning Vigilance, even if you haven't talked to this particular detachment of them.
Okay.
You descend the boarding ramp. Alyssa, are you taking point?
I'm going to let Chiyako take point.
Chiyako, as the three of you descend, you see a tall, crow-haired woman, about as tall as Petra, so she's looking down at you a little bit. She looks at you sternly, says, Chiyako. You know this woman to be Min Kyung.
Chiyako's gonna stop and stare at her, tilt her head, and she's gonna stay silent for an uncomfortably long amount of time before she gives her signature grin. Hello, Minnie.
At which point, as your signature grin cracks, her stern countenance also cracks, and she just kind of scoops you up. I was told you were dead.
She's gonna wrap her arms around Minnie's shoulders and let her swing her around a little bit. Oh, who told you that? Someone's making up good stories about me again.
Well, when your sisters say they saw the portion of the ship that you were on break off from the hull and descend into the deepness of the dreaming, it's often fair to say that they're probably dead.
I suppose that's true. I wish they could have at least, made something up that was fun.
Well, what can I say? Your sisters do tend to be a bit dour.
Sometimes, yes. But the escape pod I was in did go up in fireworks. That was wonderful.
At which point, Min looks at you two, says, I'm Min Kyung, commanding officer of this detachment of the Morning Vigilance. She switches from the casual to the formal quite rapidly, and gives you a polite bow.
As much of one as she can give while still holding on to Chiyako.
Good point. At which point she lets you down and then bows.
Darn.
So we'll return the bow.
Petra's not entirely sure about how to do the polite bowing thing. Never just had the head for it, so she'll lay her hand flat across her chest and sort of nod her head as a gesture of respect, if not socially graceful.
At which point Min nods, says, Welcome to the Baal Sansin. Why are you here? Or rather, what brings you to us?
I need to find my sisters, Minnie. It's actually rather important.
I imagine there's a story there, she says. But come, we can discuss the details. It's almost time for dinner. Come and join me, would you?
Ooh, this is going to be wonderful. Chaco's going to basically skip alongside her as they go off to get dinner.
So, as you start walking across the bay, you do see some things. In particular, You see various morning vigilance sisters going about their duties, along with some auxiliary help, at which point you also see what appears to be a civilian just kind of, for want of a term, loafing about. And as you pass him, you see something rather familiar. You see a group of girls, ranging 12 to 16, being put through their training by what appears to be a drill sergeant. Hut, 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 hut. Petra, how do you feel looking at this?
Interested. Alyssa? Chiyako?
Yes. Her head sort of snaps around over her shoulder to watch Petra as she continues skipping forward.
Alyssa simply raises an eyebrow.
Would you two mind if I stayed here and got to see the process?
I mean, I don't mind. But that's up to Minnie, not me. And her head's gonna swing back around to her old friend.
I don't mind. And I'm sure our drill sergeant wouldn't mind a colleague of sorts observing and learning a thing or two, perhaps.
Last time I observed one of your sisters going through training, I learned quite a lot. I would not mind the opportunity to do so again.
You have my permission then. Enjoy. I'm sure you son wouldn't mind somebody observing, so enjoy yourself, she says.
Petra will walk up, look over at the sergeant, and not say anything, just look at her until she catches her eye, not wanting to interfere with the training.
Eventually your eyes meet. She stops, looks at the girls, says, "All right, everyone, catch your breath." And she heads over to you. Stalwart Grove?
Sergeant?
Observing our training or just feeling nostalgic? She says.
Maybe a bit of both. I just kind of hoping if maybe you would extend me the professional courtesy of seeing how you do things, having me get some possible ideas for my own work.
You also have to wrangle initiates, she says.
Yeah, wrangle is the right word.
It's a shame how few of our sisters ever really remember and thus appreciate what we do. Come on.
Lead the way.
All right, and you join her in running. All right, initiates. Breathing's over. Back to running. I do want you to make me an insight and insight check, please.
Any modifiers?
I'll give you a +2 due to your previous experience.
That is a 13.
As you're running, you're observing her and the calls and commands that she issues. You're observing the girls and their reactions. And they all seem to be doing rather well. They're doing what you expect for girls who have not yet undergone the trials. However, you do notice that one of them seems to be lagging behind a bit. And you're looking at her, and you realize it's not due to physical inability that she's lagging behind. You've seen this kind of lagging before. This is the kind of lagging that comes from someone who is unsure they want to be here. And on that note, as you ponder that, we'll bounce back over to Alyssa and Chiyako. As you're walking to her lab, as you're walking to dinner, she says, "While you're here, we'll resupply and do some maintenance on your ship."
Thank you, Minnie.
Well, if you're going looking for your sisters, it's the least we could do to help. Also, your crew has permission to visit the lower decks. Give them a chance to stretch their legs on a larger ship, as it were.
Oh, that's exciting. Just so you know, though, we do have some unique civilians on board as well.
Unexpected?
It was a situation sort of thing, and part of the reason why we're looking for my sisters.
Now, there's a story there I'd be interested in hearing. Well, so long as they don't interfere with the operations, they're free to stick to the lower levels as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
As you're walking, another host sister runs up to Min Kyung and shows her something on a data codex. At which point, Min stops and starts quickly eyeing it, and she goes, "You're sure this is accurate? As accurate as we can make it, ma'am." She says. Did Alyssa give her name?
Alyssa has not introduced herself yet, no.
What was your name? I actually haven't gotten that yet.
I'm Alyssa, Daughters of Harmony.
Good to meet you, she says. Would you be willing to do me a very small favor?
Oh?
Could you take a look at this log and tell me what you think?
I suppose.
At which point she hands you the data codex. It's an inventory and log of various materials and items on the ship. If you could please give me an insight check, and I'll give you a +1 bonus on this.
Is it open?
Yes, it is. All right, a 12. And that is enough. You're looking over this, and at first it looks like a pretty standard, listing and inventory of supplies and materials. And then you notice that it does seem like certain materials have gone missing, and someone tried to cover it up.
Going to be honest, this looks like a classic shifting numbers around to hide something missing.
That's what I thought. I was hoping it was just a calculation error. That means there's somebody on board stealing.
Or someone misplaced something and is covering it up.
Either way, that means there's somebody doing something that they shouldn't be doing.
Indeed.
Thank you, she says. Hopping back over to Petra, you've had a chance to observe this girl, and she's about 12, so youngest in the range that is typically accepted. And yeah, observing her, she definitely has the earmarks of someone who is here, but probably doesn't want to be here.
Can I connect to other hosts outside of my immediate team?
Yes.
With the incarnate?
Yes, you may.
I contact Yusun and say, what's the story with that one in the back?
Vena. She's from Hermitage. Her joining was a bit sudden. I don't think she's fully processed. If she seems to be a bit lagging, yes, I've noticed it. But she hasn't opened up to me about it.
Now, out of character, how old is Yarrick?
Yarrick is 7, if I recall correctly.
In character. So you don't really have much insight into why she doesn't really seem to be wanting to be here, or?
It'll be a couple of weeks before the ship taking them to our primary capital ship will arrive. I was hoping over the course of that time that she might either open up or, well, as ungentle as it sounds, that she'll crack enough that we'll finally find out what's going on with her. If, however, you have a suggestion, I'm willing to take it. I'd rather have this sorted out sooner rather than later.
Well, just the beginnings of the formation of a concept of a plan. What's her family situation?
Her mother and father are small, for want of a better term, homesteaders on Hermitage.
Siblings?
She has none.
There is a young boy on our ship, named Yarrick, who has been recently uprooted from his home and could frankly use a minder that is not a genetically engineered post-human.
Or an adult.
That too. Do you think that your recruit could go on in extended maneuvers and try and keep an eye on? His name is Yarrick, and he's 7.
That's a bit of an age gap. However, why don't I take the initiates on a tour of your ship, let them broaden their experiences with vessels, and just so happen to have them run into each other.
I like this idea. He's 7 and, physically, I think he's probably 27 in terms of enthusiasm and energy. Might be enough of a disruptive influence from her routine to see if that might create some sort of an opening.
Well, let's throw these two together and see if a reaction happens, as the Tex-Mets like to say.
Sounds good, let's do it.
Initiates, stop, take a breath, which they're all just kind of like, especially Kana. At which point, Yusun says, alright, since you've all been doing so well, we're going to be doing a tour of the Starward Grove ship that just arrived.
And then as that's happening, Petra will get on the coronet to Danu.
Your friendly ship medic here, says Danu.
Danu, I am going to be giving a tour to my opposite number in the morning vigilance here. And she is going to have some recruits with her. And if you could arrange for Yarrick to run into one of them accidentally on purpose, if you understand my meaning. Her name is Kana.
You know, I've never questioned your cunning, but let it be said that you are far more cunning than some of the crew members give you credit for.
Thank you. I think.
I'll see it done. So, you're giving a tour of the ship. Yu-sun is enjoying herself. The initiates are looking on with fascination. These girls come from a mixture of worlds. It just so happens that the Baal San Sin is the closest host ship for these girls. So this is a broadening of their experiences, and they seem to be enjoying it. Kana is curious, but is emotionally dragged down, as said before. And as that is going on, Yarrick comes running down the hall, wearing the blue face paint, and runs through the line, bumps into Kana, and gets blue face paint on her initiate uniform. At which point Yarrick looks at that, goes, and takes off. At which point Kana just kind of goes, "Come back here!" and runs after him. The initiates look at this kind of confused, and they look up at you, expecting her to do something. At which point you looks at them and goes, "She'll be getting her own private tour. Let us continue on our way."
Danu, says Petra.
Yes?
I think I owe you a drink.
"I'll hold you to that," she says with a chuckle. With that little bit of organized chaos happening, let's hop back over to Alyssa and Chiyako. Not too far away from the ship bay that you were in, Min Kyung leads you to what appears to be her personal laboratory. Looking inside, it's one part library and one part observatory. You see what appears to be a human civilian. Built into the wall, where you might expect to see a window, is in fact a large contraption of monitors, as well as, imagine the non-lensed end of a telescope, but sticking out of a wall. And he seems to be looking into that as the three of you enter. And as you enter, he looks up, and he's maybe about mid-20s, has the look of somebody who does hard work, but prefers more cerebral pursuits. "Ah, Min, you have guests. Should I leave you alone? If you need me, I can be in my quarters." No. We're about to have dinner. Come and join us."
Is this a new helper?
Sorry. Allow me to introduce Il-sung. He is a representative, she says with air quotes, from the sole human, again with air quotes, colony along the Tartarus Gate. I'm a resident of Hermitage. If either of you wish to make me an insight check to see if you recognize the name.
11 for me.
8 for me.
Alyssa, you've heard the name. Don't know anything more than that. Chiyako, it's less a colony and more like an outpost acting like a colony. It's called Hermitage because everybody who lives there just does not want to deal with the Queendom, does not want to deal with anyone in general, but they understand that they're part of the Queendom, and so this is as close as they can get to their off-the-grid lifestyle as they would like.
Well, Chiyako's been dealing with quite a few people who don't like the Queendom, so she's gonna go from friendly to just a tad bit on edge. She's gonna extend her arm to him for a handshake.
He looks at you a bit apprehensively. Between your change in demeanor and the fact that you are a Silent Luminary, he is unsure. He looks over at Min Kyung, who gives him a smile and a nod, at which point he shakes your hand and goes, "Nice to meet you. I'm Il-sung. You already know that. Yes, I'm from Hermitage. I was delivering a shipment of supplies that we provide for the ship here. And yeah,
Her hand grips his, fingers wrapping around his fist, essentially enveloping it. One corner of her smile goes up just a bit more. Don't worry, I won't eat you.
I didn't realize that was an option.
I'm Chiyako. Nice to meet you, Illy. She lets go of him.
He's very confused, at which point Min just kind of comes over and says, he delivers shipments from the colony. We don't really need it, but it's a good, it helps maintain relations with Hermitage. We have to do what we do here to make sure monsters don't come in, and having what civilian presence there is, not wanting to be obstinate, helps.
I'm sure it does. But I also, would think if you don't want to get eaten by monsters, you also wouldn't want to be obstinate.
At which point he says, well, you'd be surprised. Some people would rather get eaten by a monster rather than, do the sensible thing.
Have you ever seen the inside of a monster? Ooh, depending on the species, the colors vary.
Yeah, I'm not into biology. I'm more of an astronomy kind of person, he says, and he indicates the contraption he was looking into when you entered the room. Yes, Ilsung and I discuss a lot of extragalactic astronomy when he visits. When her attention focuses on him, he beams a little bit. Insight from the both of you, if you like?
Yes. Chiyako gets a 12.
I got a 5.
I kind of imagine that Alyssa isn't really paying attention to this little conversation going on. She's probably more looking at the lab and taking stock of it. Would that be accurate?
She's probably surveying the book collection, yeah.
So you don't notice, but Chiyako does. When he looks up at her, you can almost see like the little hearts emanating off of his head.
Her smile loses a little bit of its edge, but just a little.
Since we're here, why don't we call Petra in and we can get some dinner going and you can discuss what's been going on.
I'll send Petra a message. Hopefully she'll be here on time.
So Petra, you get a ping saying that dinner's ready. Do you wish to join?
What's the status of the tour and the social experiment?
The tour is almost done. As for the social experiment, that still seems to be ongoing. At which point Danu chimes to you. I can keep an eye on it if you need to go make nice.
Yeah, just keep both of them keeping each other on their toe. She trails off, obviously not knowing exactly how to state the idea, and then says, just make sure they keep each other occupied for as long as possible.
All right. As you take Yusun and the initiates out, you think you can hear Yarek going, so, you're trying to become a host. That's interesting. How's it going? At which point you hear in the way that only like a preteen can do.
I in fact can. And imagine that and know exactly what you're talking about. And that really does kind of say it all. Yeah. So I look over at the sergeant, kind of give her a benevolently malicious grin and say, I think we can take the rest of the initiates back if you're ready.
I think they're done with their training for today.
Good. Hers is just beginning. I think 5 more minutes with Yara can show cracks, so 5 or 6 more hours should be good, yeah?
I am definitely curious to see how this works out, she says. A very interesting approach.
Our test is crisis and observation.
That is a very good point. You depart. Yusun and the initiates go one direction. You follow directions towards the lab. As you are getting close, you do see that loafer, that civilian who was loafing about before, not too far away, but he seems to be minding his own business. And you enter into the laboratory. There you see Alyssa, Chiyako, Minkyung, and Ilsung are already at a table with food being brought out.
Sisters?
Petra, says Min. I assume things are going well.
Yes, we are. Somebody is having a lot of fun right now. And as soon as I figure out who, we'll let you know.
So, you start eating. It's enjoyable. There's some light conversation. And Petra, you notice what Chiyako noticed before about Ilsung, with practically the little hearts going over his head. It's an interesting experience for you, though. You're used to seeing it from the inside. Not you directly, but the Starlight Grove does have a nickname in certain circles. They're sometimes referred to as the Heartbreaker host, because they tend to spend the most time with civilians. There's been more than one instance of regular humans developing romantic affections for members of your host.
Okay.
So as you sit and eat, Min Kyung says, "So, I gather you're looking for your sisters, yes?"
Yes, I am. Well, we are, yes.
What happened?
So Chiyako is going to go into this whole action-packed story, and it's going to use, like, her hands like little puppets, and it's going to be like, and then there were, like, explosions, and the tree was on fire, and we found the leader of their little, like, mercenary cult group, and they were all like, ugh, I got machines embedded in me, blah. And then there was the time where I touched the tree and got to talk to the tree, and she's just gonna keep going and going and going, and be too excited to give, like, substantial information, but is having a lot of fun expressing the story. From her point of view, anyway.
1, take a Fabula point.
Yay.
As for the food being served, since you're host sisters and now guests of the commanding officer, you're not being given survival rations, you're being given full proper meals, at which point it's noodles, pickled vegetables, some sautéed meats, along with some uncooked fruit, and if you are especially hungry, some rice.
Chiyako is going to carefully start dissecting the fruit while keeping eye contact with Illy.
He's trying not to appear concerned, because he doesn't exactly know what to do in this situation. At which point, Min Kyung is just like, alright, I gather there's some kind of cursed artifact and you're trying to find your sisters because it has a connection there. Interesting. Alright.
The key issue is we believe there may be a historical connection between this faction and Chiyako's sisters, so we're hoping some historical archived information may be able to give us some intelligence upon what we are currently dealing with.
Curious indeed.
So Chiyako, stop that.
Stop what?
Don't abuse your position of authority to intimidate a civilian.
Sharply bites a piece of fruit off her fork.
Are you going to introduce us to your new special friend, Chiyako?
This is Mr. Silly-Illy, a new friend of Minnie's.
As soon as Petra says special friend, Min Kyung just kind of gets a oh no look on her face. Chiyako, she says, as she finishes eating a little bit of noodles, he's a very pleasant person. Please do not stalk and hunt him. At which point he goes, what now?
But Minnie, you know that's my favorite thing to do. It's how I get to know people.
Get to know him how I got to know him, discussing astrogation and extragalactic astronomy.
That's boring. I promise I won't cut him.
I look over at the guy. It is actually pretty funny at first.
So he looks at Chiyako, looks at Petra. Min Kyung is obviously on his side, but she doesn't seem to be entirely reining them in, so he looks over at you, Alyssa, with a bit of a pleading look on his face.
I'll be sure to remind them that what they're doing is a violation of multiple regulations. Alas, I lack the authority to order them to knock it off.
Are you going to give me a head start, he says?
I always do.
Okay, Min, I went over your calculations. They're on the codex next to the telescope. As always, you cracked those quite well. There were a few spots I think you might want to explore alternate routes to the solution, and
Chuck is slowly getting up.
I'm gonna go. I hope to, and he runs off. As he runs off, he bumps into somebody and continues.
Finish my dinner later. This will be fun. And she's going to slowly walk out of the room, so she can keep her eyes on him.
As you're getting up, however, an alarm goes off. At which point Min Kyung taps her clarinet. It connects to the loudspeaker. Says, "We have a monster approaching our position. Everyone to battle stations. Repeat, everyone to battle stations. This is not a drill. All civilians and initiates to designated zones. I repeat, this is not a drill. Battle stations." She stands up, looks at you, and goes, "We're under attack."
Oh, this is exciting. Oh, it's been so long.
Danu,
Yes?
where's Kana and Yarek?
They seem to be in the shuttle bay.
Do you have eyes on them?
I can.
Yeah. You heard the announcement?
I did.
All right. You know what you need to do.
Yep. So on that interesting note, that's where we'll call it for tonight. I do so love leaving you all in suspense, my dear subjects. So we'll see what happens. Will Vena open up to Yarek? Will Chiyako hunt down Ilsum? And what's going to happen with the monster? So thank you all for watching. Please do leave a comment and subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. And we will see you next time.
See you later.
Farewell, everyone. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
And good night.